Do you have constant anxiety? I know that I did for a long, long time, and it really sucks. What is the cause of anxiety? What is going on that brings us to the point that it lives inside us and it affects so much of our life, and in a negative way, right? Rarely do we ever hear of a person that's suffering from constant anxiety and they're just like, oh yeah, I love my life. My life's awesome. I love this like constant fear and vigilance that I have that just makes me jump at every sound or whatever. Right? It's not fun. It is not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not joyful. And it's definitely not free, because we live with this like weight hovering, pressing down on us at all times. What's going on there? And how can I help you with this? Because I can say that is behind me now. I found a path through, and I'm absolutely confident you can too. What is this path? Well, this path begins with understanding what anxiety is. Anxiety is another name for fear. Funny that. I am terrified of something. And I can present this to people and they'll say, no, I'm not afraid. I just have anxiety. Okay, how are you going to define anxiety then? Okay, we can say it's a gentle or strong physiological discomfort and kind of a vomitous feeling, just kind of a ugh, right? And as I've said before, it's okay to be in a place where we can't put the specific label on what we're feeling, because that's kind of awesome. It allows us to sink deeper into the actual emotional, somatic sensation of this thing we're feeling. But let's get clear on what anxiety is. Anxiety is fear. I am afraid of something. And there's always a something. And if it is dominating your life and consuming us in many ways, it's very likely that it's not just a fear, it's a terror. Okay, how are we going to make a difference between fear and terror? Terror is when we have a physiological reaction to it that is extremely strong, a jittering sensation, a shaking, a shortness of breath, an increased heart rate. Like, these are all the signs that our nervous system is seeing some thing, event, stimulus that it believes is profoundly threatening to this organism. Something out there is threatening my ability to survive, to live a happy life, to feel safe. Right? You see the connection? Safety and threat are opposites. The thing that is threatening threatens my safety. And because my safety is threatened, I am anticipating, my nervous system is anticipating this threat coming and imposing itself into my life and taking away my safety, taking away my survival, taking away my life. That's the dynamic that's happening. Is a physiological response to a perceived threat. This is what anxiety is. And that physiology of the heart, increased heart rate and increased, the jitteriness and the dilation of the eyes and the extreme cold in the extremities, the fast twitch muscles. These are all traits of my entire childhood. And the people around me just told me, it's just like, oh, that's just part of you. Like, every child's different and you've just got these different traits and your pupils are dilated all the time and your breath is short and you only you either sleep for tiny bits or you sleep chronically long. Your extremities are frozen all the time. Like, you're always on high alert. You're always jumpy, and like anything that happens, it's like you leap out of the seat like a gazelle into full alertness. Right? I had many cases in my life where I'd be like totally asleep, and then something would happen where I whatever, some part of my system knew that I needed to be present. And I would go from in the bed, sleeping, tear the covers off, leaped out of bed, onto my feet, door open, present, in full awake alertness in the snap of a finger. And I thought that was a superpower. I'm just like, oh yeah, I can do that. Other people can't. I don't need your groggy post-sleeping, whatever that is. Like, no, I got this superpower. I can go from sleeping to perfect alertness instantly. How great am I? Later on, I began studying the physiology of trauma and all that other kind of stuff. I began to see it's just like, oh, that's just my anxiety doing its thing. This is from an entire childhood of borderline or active trauma response. That's what happens. My entire physiology is attuned for quick reaction to a perceived threat. This is what anxiety is. Anxiety is a vast, we can be anxious about a specific thing, a test result, or a partner leaving us, or a job change, or anything like that. We can have anxiety about a specific thing. But people that have general, widespread anxiety disorder, which I was diagnosed with in 2016, 17, I was having these heart palpitations. I couldn't sleep. I was bolting awake at night into this like wakefulness thing, but yet there was no stimulus there. There's no threat. I was just bolting out of bed. Heart palpitations, high blood pressure, whatever. I started going to see all these doctors and like, oh, you're just having panic attacks. And I'm like, well, this sucks. What do I do about it? And they're just like, take these drugs. Have you tried meditation? Oh, try some mindfulness. Maybe take a bath. And then one doctor comes to me and he's just like, you need to come to terms with your own mortality. You're getting older. And I'm like, what the F was that? Okay. This is my experience. So I was diagnosed with general panic disorder. It's how misdiagnosed and misdirected and unhelpful that was is tragically laughable. Okay. It might, sure, they don't have another word for it, so that's what they're going to call it, general panic disorder. Okay. Or anxiety, general anxiety disorder. GAD, yeah. And I took the drugs for a while. It was just like, this is terrible. So got off the drugs and said, I'm going to go do this my own way. I'm going to research, I'm going to read, and I'm going to discover, and there's so many smart people out there and so many wonderful researchers, and they're posting their stuff on the internet, and like with enough time and focus, I should be able to find answers for this. And I did. And that's why I'm here talking to you now. Okay, so what do we do about this? What was the path through? The path through was understanding that there is what feels like a vast network of things to be scared of. I was married at the time. I'm scared of my wife's judgment. I'm scared of my parents' judgment. I'm scared of my boss's judgment. I'm scared of my friend's judgment. I'm scared of my own judgment. I'm scared of walking down the street and having anyone look at me negative or say something nasty about me or whatever. And I had these compulsions that would arise inside me to pull away from all that and hide. And now I understand that compulsion to hide is an attempt of the nervous system to conserve energy, because when the hypervigilance is turned on and it is scanning the entire surrounding network and watching all the micro expressions and verbal cues and everything else of every person around me, it consumes a tremendous amount of energy. And the brain is saying, I'm tired. Well, guess what? My whole body's tired. I got fatigue every day. Like yes, I can jump up into this state of alertness, but then, 20 minutes later, I'm yawning and tired. But then there'd be some new thing that would trick me off. And so it was this, you're leaping from basically one crisis to the next. And it feels absolutely overwhelming. And it's like, there's no way out because I'm just in this general state of anxiety all the time. And I can't point to anything specific. It's not like I've been in a war zone or explosions, or which I have been, or terrorist attacks, which I have been. And it's but I mean, it's not like those, right? It's something different. It's this general state of unease and discomfort and anxiety. And then we express this discomfort to a medical person or friends or society, and they say, oh yeah, that's just general anxiety. You're just generally anxious. Bullshit. No. You are scared of many, many specific things. It's like having a great big blanket woven together of different bits of data, but different stimulus, different judgments, different people. It's all woven together, and it just like covers us, and it seems to impact every aspect of our being. And the reason it feels overwhelming, the reason it feels like it's general, is because there's so many of them. Why is there so many of them? There's so many of them is because our nervous system during the formative years, all this is a attachment theory again, and it is in those first 2 to 3 years of our life, you guessed it, we're around a powerful figure. Thanks, birds. We're around this powerful figure, which is mom or dad, that is very critical, very judgmental, and has a swift and firm punishment. A punishment that is strong enough to give me terror. A punishment that is so strong that I am afraid of that punishment. I'm afraid of that person. And when they activate and they're dissatisfied with whatever it is I did, that punishment will be swift, it will be firm, it will be terrifying, and it will overwhelm my nervous system. My little child nervous system. And then that little child nervous system says, I don't ever want to feel that again. So I need to watch constantly. Every waking hour, every moment that I am observing the external reality, I need to be watching for that person, that threat. It's not so much the person is a threat as it is their anger is the threat. So it's just like if dad gets angry, something horrible is going to happen. If mom gets angry, something horrible is going to happen. So our little baby brain starts watching for when they get angry. And then it starts watching. It's like as the brain develops, it starts putting cause and effect relationships together. It says, wait a second, there's situations that lead to that. There are, if the door slams, or there's this show on TV, or I burp or cry, or, drop food on the floor or whatever, that figure is going to rise into this anger, and then something horrible is going to happen. So it's like we move back in time or anticipation one step, and we say, okay, what are the things that lead to mom and dad getting angry, and what can I do to prevent that from ever happening? And so now I'm constantly vigilant for all the various situations that lead to mom or dad being angry. And then I go another layer down, and I'm like, what are all the situations that lead to the situations that lead to mom or dad being angry? And see, and this continues. The net gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is chronic. This is chronic when the parent figures act in an unpredictable way. If they are emotionally dysregulated themselves, if they are volatile, they're emotionally volatile, and they can slip into dysregulation quickly based upon other things, other situations and other places. Dad goes and has a meeting at work 4 hours ago. Someone insulted him. That's still brewing in his system. He comes home, his temper is short, and he blows up. My little child brain doesn't know about that meeting. So it's just like, wow, it just exploded into rage and this horrible thing happened. What was the thing that caused it? And I'm not kidding. I lived this, like, and I remember it. The brain scanning for all, it's like, was it what kind of music? Like, okay, if this kind of music is playing, is it better or worse? If that kind of food is it better or worse? Is it, there'd be these times where I'm like sitting in the kind of the main room of the house that has these big windows that see the driveway, and I would see my father's car driving up the driveway, and I would be overcome with this sense of like anxious dread. It's like, what's it going to be today? Like, what wrong thing is going to be found today? And there were times where I'd just be like, this is 5 or 6, and my little brain would just be like, oh, go hide. And it would literally like run from the place where that figure may come into the house, like get far away, go to a different edge of the house, and then sit in a corner behind a chair and pull out my Legos, which is kind of my favorite toy. And I'd be sitting there back behind the chair, like, doing stuff, effectively hiding. It is a survival strategy by a child nervous system to avoid this unpredictable rage or punishment or discomfort. And there'd be sometimes that, that parent's in a good mood, comes looking around, walks in the rooms, is like, what are you doing behind that chair? And what do you do? What did I do? You lie. Say, oh, it was just warm back here or whatever, right? Because I don't have the guts to say, like, I'm terrified that you might be angry when you walk through the door. This is the situation that creates general anxiety. These are the situations, right? I guess this one hiding behind the seat, I pulled that trick more than once. And there were times that it was effective. He did come through the door angry. He did come through the door volatile or dysregulated, right? And then I'm hiding, and then he's raging up and down the house, doing whatever. And I'm just like, can't see me behind the seat. Can't see me behind this chair. And then eventually it blows over. And, hour or so later, it's like, it's time for dinner. Where are you? And then I come sneaking out, and then I go and sit down at the table and get my food. And by that time, things have calmed down. And so it worked. So to my nervous system, what does the brain and nervous system do when you find a strategy that works? It doubles down and it says, oh, that was definitely an effective strategy. I'm going to do that more. Hiding works. Monitoring for the future works. Scanning this ever-present expanding net of cause and effect relationships that might lead to a point of terror works. We have a word for that. We call it hypervigilance. I'm vigilant, watching, hyper. I'm watching way more than normal. This is what leads to general anxiety. Okay, what do we do about it? How can I help you with this? How did I get out of it? My path bounced around between so many things because I had no guidance. I didn't have a good teacher, lecturer, whatever. I mean, I had a lot of people with a lot of neat, good information, but I didn't have someone that could just hold my hand and walk me through it. So I want to be that person. I want to hold your hand. I want to help walk you through this. And the answer seems to be really grasping this idea that this is terror. Don't hide from that. Don't shy from it. Don't give it a different name. Don't avoid it. Turns out the avoidance of the thing we're afraid of amplifies the fear and then makes it stretch to other things. And so that's one of the reasons it weaves itself into this big blanket that smothers us, is because we keep hiding from it. We keep avoiding. We keep trying to numb out. We're like become sugar addicts or coke addicts or pot addicts or smoking or relationships or sex or clubs or music or whatever, right? There's a million different ways we can numb out. Figure out the ways that you numb out. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. Write a list. Put down on this list every single thing you do when you're feeling panic, fear, anger, dissociation, brain fog. Write down every single thing that you do. And then take a period of time and look at this list. And then say, for this period of time, 1 or 2 hours, I'm not going to do any of these. Or any time I want to do them, I'm going to freeze for a moment and like allow that terror and fear and anxiety to sit inside me. And I'm going to feel it. I'm going to experience it. I'm going to get curious and be like, wow, how strong is this on a scale of 1 to 10? Boy, it feels like an 8. Or this feels like an 11. I am panicking to hell. Where is this coming from? I don't know. That's okay. That's okay. But keep asking yourself. Do it again. Where is this coming from? I don't know. Why is he making me face this? This feels so horrible. Yes, it does. It isn't supposed to feel horrible. This is a nervous system that is trying to make you survive. And the way it makes you survive is it generates a whole cocktail of negative emotions when it sees something that it believes is a threat. That's it. And then it generates positive emotions when it sees something that it thinks is going to be safe or helpful for your survival. So hold on to those moments and say, in this moment, some part of my nervous system sees something that it believes is incredibly threatening to my existence. What is it seeing? I'll give you an example. I used to have this long history of toxic relationships, super unhelpful, whatever. And then there would be this moment where I'm just like wandering around in this state of anxiety, even though I'm dating someone that seems delightful, more than delightful. Like this person seems ideal. It's like my entire nervous system is just like, yeah, like celebrating to the moon about how amazing this person is. And yet I'm in constant anxiety. What am I in constant anxiety about? I'm in constant anxiety eventually. It was plaguing me. And then eventually I kind of wake up one morning or before bed or whatever, I'm in this kind of quiet space by myself. And I'm just like, what is it I'm actually afraid of? What is it that is so terrifying about this situation? And it's just like, dude, it has something to do with her. And I'm like, what are we so afraid of? And it's like, sometimes she doesn't really value you that much. Sometimes she's kind of wrapped up in her own thing and she'll kind of be focused on her own story and her own accomplishments and her own friendships. And it's just like, I don't even exist in her life. Like, yeah. And so I sit with that and I'm just like, that feels yucky. Why does it feel yucky? And it's like, it feels yucky because she is happiness. That's a red flag for me, by the way. Like, and I think at that point in time, I actually knew that. And it's like, I'm like, wait a second. You're telling me that like you're deriving all this happiness and joy from her presence. And now the fact that she's got her own life and going her own direction and doing her own thing, that feels threatening. I look inside, I listen to this anxiety, I listen to this inner voice, this inner child. And he says, yep. I'm like, oh, I've got all this general anxiety in my life that's like plaguing me in so many ways. And it kind of comes down to this idea that it's just like, I have a terror inside me that I'm going to lose someone that finally makes me feel loved and appreciated. And I can imagine this beautiful future together. Yes, that's very common, but it's not really healthy. I'm terrified of that. I don't want that to happen. I can hear many people out there already saying, it's like, I don't want that to happen either. Well, what happens when we don't want it to happen? We start scanning for situations that lead to that partner or person behaving a certain way. And we've already got this skill really well developed. And so now I'm watching for the things that are going to lead her to a point of being shut down, avoidant, dissociated or checked off or, giving interest to other people, and I'm going to watch for the cause and effect relationships that lead to that. I'm going to start trying to influence all these various aspects that lead to that thing. I'm trying to control the future. I'm trying to control the behavioral response of another person by controlling their environment so that they can be present in a very specific way, giving me attention in a very specific way so that I can feel good. Does that make sense? And then what happens is that we realize that we don't actually have that much control. I mean, first off, trying to control that whole situation is codependent and super red flaggy, and I want to make sure that's not gone unsaid. But like, a lot of us do it and don't feel shame about that. But we're talking about anxiety right now. And that anxiety arises from the fact that it's like, I don't have the ability to control these outcomes. Some I do, some things I can influence, other things I can't. And the ones that I can't put me in a place where the future is unknown. The future is uncertain. And if it's uncertain, there might be punishment. If the future is uncertain and I can't scan the entire network of cause and effect relationships to make a decision where I know with high certainty that I'm going to get the result I want, that means I might get the result I don't want. And if I get it's not so much the result I don't want, it's the result that they don't want. In the child brain, it's mom or dad, the punisher, right? The one who punishes, the one that will bring punishment and pain to my life might get the thing that they don't want. And then we move out of that home and we move and become autonomous adults, but we still have that voice inside our head. We still have that perception inside our mind that it's like, if I do the wrong thing, there's going to be a consequence and it's going to feel horrible, right? And then I don't want that horrible. I don't want that bad thing to happen. I don't want to feel like I'm lost. I don't want to feel like I'm alone, or that I make bad choices, or that I'm unproductive, or that I'm a horrible human being, or I'm unlovable, unworthy, whatever. The nervous system will say, I will do anything possible to avoid those feelings. Well, anything possible to avoid those feelings is more on the controlling side, which sometimes we see, but the person that's got general anxiety is usually in a state where they don't want any of those things to happen, and they don't know how to influence their reality, their environment around them, to get to those places where they want to be. They don't know how to do it, or they've tried and failed, or they've been shut down or whatever. And so they live in this state of constant fear that there's going to be a negative consequence. Ugh, does not feel good. So what do we do about it? I've already begun that, which is this idea that you go into the place of anxiety and you hold it for a minute and you get curious about it and you say, what is it that I'm so terrified of? And can I let some of that jittery energy exist inside my body for a short period of time, as long as I can hold it? I'm just going to sit here and be anxious. It's like, yeah, every second that you spend allowing that anxiety to exist in your body is a second of release. And whatever kind of emotional charge or neurological storage or whatever that's in there has a chance to kind of flow through the process. And the end kind of conclusion we get to in all of this is we realize that the answer for anxiety is to rectify fear. The answer to anxiety is to develop a skill set and a practice, much like yoga, in myself, a daily, weekly, whatever practice inside myself where I come face to face with fear. That I walk towards it with intention, with choice. I choose to be in this uncomfortable place. I choose to stand right next to this thing that is terrifying. This person's going to leave me. That these finances are going to go away. Some person that I respect and I care about is going to think poorly of me. I'm going to intentionally walk towards those situations and stand directly in front of them, look it right in the eye, and say, I know this is going to be uncomfortable. I know this is going to be scary, maybe even terrifying, but I'm going to stay here as long as I can before it becomes too much. And after that, when you say, I've had enough of this, then you leave that situation and you come back into yourself. You come back to a place that feels safe and supported and whatever. And then people say, I've got general anxiety. I don't have any place that feels safe and supported. And I would challenge you on that. There are times, always, that there's something so cool, so fun, that we forget to be scared for a few minutes. I had it as bad as anybody. And I remember these moments, and I'm just like, what's going on there? I'm like, it's like something happens. It's embarrassing that at that point in time, this is like 10, 15 years ago, the thing that would happen was that I would get attention from a pretty girl. And I'm watching myself react through these things, and I realize I'm just like, what the F? I'm literally sitting here in a state of just primal misery and panicky dissatisfaction with my life or whatever. And then I go to this social gathering, and then this pretty girl kind of chats with me, talks with me, asks me some questions, whatever, like gives me enough. She gives me validation by actually choosing to engage with me. That's now my nervous system has all the validation apparently it needs to throw me into a state of euphoria, and like I've got all the positive hormones in my brain, and then all that anxiety just falls away, and I'm present and chatty and charismatic and charming and flirtatious or whatever. And then I go home, and then that attention, that validation isn't there anymore. And then I crash. Does that sound like anything we know? Does that sound like a drug addiction? Because it is. And I began to see how the way I was reacting to these states of positive validation, they would bring me so high that the anxiety would go away. And then I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm healed. I feel great. I'm on top of the world because I had this constant stream of fix. But as soon as the fix goes away, I would crash. And then it's back into anxiety and depression and misery and everything else. And I had a long list of numbing agents I would use to get away from those feelings and get away from those situations. And I eventually challenged myself to abstain from the numbing agents, to be present with the fear, and to recognize how much my well-being, how much my nervous system was craving the attention and validation of other people, socially valuable people, attractive people, whatever, right? Successful people. I wanted that because it made the fear go away. And I'm like, wait a second. So I seem to be afraid of whatever the opposite of validation is. I'm afraid of judgment. I'm afraid of criticism. I'm afraid of people not liking me. I'm afraid of, it's like, yes, get very real about that. This is the pathway out. It is uncomfortable as hell, but it works. I've done it with myself. I've done it with many others. It works. And because that difficulty, that challenge is like, oh my God, this is so yucky, I want to vomit. Like every time we face that, we get stronger. Our resilience goes up and our capacity for fear goes up with it. Every time we do that, we get more confident in ourselves. I can do this. I can sit in this much discomfort. I can face this much fear. I can face this much judgment. And eventually we get to a point where we say, I am standing in a room. Eventually we get to a point where we're standing in a room. Every person is looking at me, and every word I say is my choice, is my exposure. It's my vulnerability. Every stance I make, every edgy, harsh comment or assessment I make about a situation is me and only me. And every person in that room can hate me for it. I put myself that far out, that much, I expose myself that much that all these people can judge me. And some of them do. Sometimes, many of them do, actually. I've not had that happen in a long, long time. But it's like I play that scenario out in my mind of being in this room that completely bombs and everybody hates me and they're saying nasty things and they're trying to disprove my statements and blah, 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 right? And that's my exercise. So I sit there in my mind and I do this exercise and I imagine being in a room where I am bombing and be like, okay, that feels yucky. It feels horrible. And I want to have the attention and validation and admiration of these people, and it's not happening. It's the opposite. They hate me now. And be like, okay, can I be okay in that situation? And eventually get to the point where, yes, I can. Like, okay, now I'm going to manage a situation where someone I really care about, we're in deep, intimate, romantic relationship, and they have found someone else, and they're walking out the door. And I sit and I imagine that. And I allow that terror to pass through my system and witness it, and I just allow it to be and say, yeah, this makes sense. We really cared about that person. And they're leaving, and there's sadness there. And I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed to be activated and worried and maybe even angry. Just allow it. And this is the path that I walked step by step by step over a period of time that led me to the end of anxiety. There's no drugs. There's no magical interventions. There's no anything. It's just diligent, focused effort. I hope that makes sense. My wish to you is that whatever anxiety you're feeling in your life dissolves before your very eyes. That you engage with this process of connecting with yourself and understanding the fear and being present with it and choosing it. It's a big difference happens when we choose it instead of it happening to us. I choose to move towards the things which give me anxiety. And I hope you can step towards those things and approach them with a intentional, curious allowing, and watch this anxiety that has plagued you for so long just dissolve before your very eyes. And 3, 4, 6 months in, you'll be sitting here saying, oh my God, my life is different. That's my wish and prayer for you. Peace.